This video is brought to you by Bantio TCG.
What's up guys, Product here, and today I'm here with another Digimon deck profile. Today we'll be going over the EX10 Blackwarygreymon deck. So without further ado, let's get right into the deck profile. So with the support from EX10 and also actually from BD22, we have a lot of new cards that we can use for the deck. And so I decided to make this deck because it seemed like pretty fun deck to build. And Blackwarygreymon is a fan favorite, and he is very cool. So I had to make this new deck. So for the Digimon's, we're running 4 of the new Gaioumons. So Gaioumon is whenever a target changes, you can draw one. So this either works from raiding, or your opponent blocking, or you blocking. So you'll be able to draw. So it's pretty good. And it is a black egg, so you'll be able to use it with a lot of the Blackwarygreymon support. So pretty good. And then for the level 6s, we are running 4 copies of the new Blackwarygreymon Ace. Normally in decks, we don't actually run that many aces, but in this build, we are going to be running as many as we can because you'll be forcing your opponent to attack, and when they attack, you'll be able to just blast a ball on top of them, so that decreases the cost for you going up your tower. And he's just a good card in general. So Blackwarygreymon ability is it's got Raid, Reboot, and Blocker. And on play and non-evolution, you can delete one of your opponent's play cost 7 or lower Digimon Tamers. So being able to delete Tamers is also really good. So we're running 4 copies of this. And then on all turns, whenever your opponent has a Digimon at 13k or more, your opponent's Digimon's effects do not affect this Digimon, and it also gets plus 3k. So giving a little bit of protection is also really nice. So we are going to be running 4 copies of the Blackwarygreymon. So, you know, like in the show, he likes fighting the strongest opponent, and I think the effects are pretty flavorful. I really like it, and the art is just phenomenal. I think this is like one of the best Blackwarygreymon arts we've gotten in a while. So, yeah. Next, we are going to be running 2 copies of the Gaioumon. So this is Gaioumon from the promo pack. You can also use the BD22 Gaioumon if you want, but I like this one more because it also has the ability to force your opponent to attack. So on evolution, until the end of your opponent's turn, you can target one of your opponent's Digimon, and it gets the ability of at the start of your main phase, this Digimon attacks, so they have to attack you, and that forces you to block, or that allows you to block, sorry, or allows you to, if you have another stack ready to blast evolve, you can just evolve, which is really nice. And then whenever a attack changes, your opponent tries the top card of the security. So he fits in really nicely with the deck because the main idea is to have your opponent trash cards from the security on their turn, so that when it goes back to your turn, you can just kill them. So yeah, pretty good. Keep in mind, it is a 5 cost to evolve though, so it is kind of expensive. So whenever you're digivolving this, you're probably expecting to pass your turn, which is fine because you can blitz with this thing anyway. And then the reboot allows him to unsuspend on your opponent's turn, which then allows you to further use him to block. So pretty good. For the level 5s, we're running 4 copies of the new MetalGreymon. So this is the one that has Reboot, and on play and on evolution, give one of your opponent's collision, and at the start of main phase, this Digimon attacks. So the good thing about this card is, even if you don't have blocker, since you're giving them collision, it pretty much gives yourself blocker anyway. So it's pretty good. And then on your opponent's turn, the inherent ability is on your opponent's turn, when this when an opponent's attack card changes, and this Digimon has Greymon's name, you can trash the top card of your opponent's security. So pretty much, if you have this, and your opponent attacks, and you block with this, you'll be able to trash 2. So that's pretty good. Very, very nice. Your opponent just lost 2 security on their turn. You're like, oh, they're inching closer to their death, and they can't even do anything about it because you forced them to attack. So obviously there's going to be a very blaring weakness for this deck, but we'll talk about that later. We're also running 3 copies of the MetalGreymon X Antibody. So MetalGreymon X Antibody is on evolution until an opponent's turn. One of your opponent's effects cannot reduce this Digimon DP and cannot de-digivolve it. And then if this Digimon has a MetalGreymon or X Antibody in its sources, you can delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 6k or less. So preventing yourself from de-digivolving is pretty important because de-digivolving is a pretty annoying mechanic to go around. And if you Digivolve into your Wargreymon and your opponent's Digivolves it, you get overflow, so that's not nice. So the temporary protection is pretty good. And then on your opponent's turn, especially if your opponent doesn't have a big Digimon on the board or they have an empty board, this deck has a very hard time dealing with an empty board because you can't really do anything about it. So this will help you stall out for a little bit and also gives you a little bit of protection because your opponent can't stay on an empty board forever. So you can just kind of nudge them to do something by just attacking them, and then they'll have to play something eventually, and then you'll be able to just stall it out a little bit. Next, for the last level 5 slot, we're running 1 copy of Tecton RisingGreymon. This is a slot that's kind of floaty. You can run other level 5s you want, or if you don't want to run a level 5, you want to run something else, you definitely can as well. This card is just here to help you play a Tamer for free. As mentioned before, if your opponent doesn't have any Digimon on the board, you're kind of just sitting there. So this one kind of actually punishes them by having you Digivolve into a RisingGreymon, and then you can have a Tamer for free, which makes your board presence a little bit stronger. So you'll be able to just sit on more resources while your opponent kind of turtles themselves. So running 1 copy, you can definitely adjust the ratios if you want. If you want to run more, you definitely can, but I think 1 is okay because you don't always need it. And sometimes when you're playing against opponents that doesn't really know what your deck's doing, you can kind of just go ham and go with your regular plays. So yeah, this is pretty flexible slot, and the inherited ability is a security check +1, so it allows you again to go a little bit more aggressive if your opponent is playing passive. So you'll be able to go into this, and then you'll be able to do a 2 checks. So even if you don't get to trash the security on their turn, you can still do 2 checks on your turn, which is really nice as well. Now let's move on to the level 4s. We are running 4 copy of the new Greymon. This one is Raid, and on evolution and on play, you can on the opponent's turn you can get this Digimon +3k. So obviously it plays with the attacking and then rebooting on your opponent's turn to get the blocker. So you'll be able to do a little bit more aggressive plays even early on as well. So yeah, it's not bad. And the hair just gives you +1k on your both turns. We're also running 4 copies of the starter deck Greymon. This card's amazing because of its inheritability, but it's its security effect and the blocker ability is okay as well. If this card's checking the security, you can play a from your hand or trash a Agumon or a Taichi. We are running the starter deck Taichi, so you'll be able to play that as well. And then the inheritability is whenever attack target is changed, you can get memory +1. So not only can you potentially cut your opponent's turn before they start, you'll be able to just get memory on your opponent's turn. So that's really good. For example, if you force them to attack and they only have 1 memory, you'll put them to 0, so they can't really do a lot. They'll have to play a card or something and then pass turn. So definitely helps out a lot. If they have a setter, though, it makes them a little bit harder, but it does just give them less memory to work with. So that's always a plus in my books. Alright, next we are going to be running 2 copies of the Greymon X Antibody. This one is, the inherit is just a little bit of protection. So this one just lets you, if an effect would delete this Digimon with Greymon in its name, you can return it to the hand or deck. You can prevent it from leaving by discarding 2 cards with the same level in its sources. So we are running quite a few Greymon, so you can, if you have this, you'll have some protection. Unlike the previous X Antibody builds, we're not running a lot of X Antibodies, so you won't get it off as much, but we still have the MetalGreymon X and we still have the Greymon X, so you still have a little bit of protection, which is nice. And you're also running 1 copy of the Greymon X Antibody, the virus one. This one's mainly just here for the cost reduction. When this Digimon would Digivolve into a card with Greymon in its name, reduce the evolution cost by 1 for each color on that card. And the inherit, we're not actually able to use the inherit because we're not running the X Antibody option, but you can definitely tech it in if you want. I'll let you guys know what you can. Actually, you can, if you don't want to run the RisingGreymon, you can switch this out for X Antibody if you want. Next, we're going to be running for level 3s 4 copies of the main turn Gaioumon memory. Agumon, this one's just good just because the inherit again has the attack change +1 memory. So if you have these and your opponent starts off with 1 memory, you can potentially just cut their turn, which is pretty funny. And then we're also running 2 copies of the Agumon from EX10. This one, at the start of main phase, you can grab a Greymon with virus trait from your trash back to your hand. We're only running 2 because early game this card's not really useful, but it's pretty useful late game, so we don't really need to see it too often. I'd much rather have the memory game, which is almost always alive. And then, yeah, so we're running 2 copies of the new Agumon from EX10. And then we're also running 4 copies of the Agumon from BT8. This one is the Searcher. Looks at the top 4, grabs a Greymon as well as a Dragonkin. So yeah, it doesn't have an inherit, which is kind of sad, but it is a really old card. So I think it is okay for what it is, mainly here for the Searcher. I think it being able to search for top 4 and able to grab 2 cards kind of mitigates its not having an inherit, but yeah, it's fine. And then we're actually also running 2 copies of the Gaioumon X Antibody from BD22. This one is a card that helps you grab a Tyrannomon or a dinosaur trait. So you'll be able to grab all of your Greymons, but nothing much after that. So this card is mainly here to fuel your sources for the Greymon X Antibody. But keep in mind, you can actually not Digivolve this on top of the Agumon because this only lets you Digivolve on top of red. So if you brick, you can't Digivolve this on top. So actually, you can't Digivolve it on top of any of your Agumon. So this card we're only running 2 off for that reason. But yeah, it's kind of funny sometimes. It does happen. Next, for the Tamers, we're running 2 copies of Taichi. So, oh, another thing is this one on your opponent, on both players' turn, whenever a Digimon is deleted by battle, you can gain 1 memory. So you can actually, what you can actually do is you force an attack, they change targets, you gain 2 memory, and then you block and kill them, you gain another memory. So it's pretty scary. It can be pretty scary sometimes, and I think that's the reason why some people are running 4 of these. But I really do like the new Agumon that we get. So I am running 2. But if you want to cut, you can actually cut these ones out if you want as well. Cut 2 of these and run 2 more of these. But yeah, it's pretty flexible. You can kind of choose what you want. There's so many Agumons in this game that, you know, there's a lot of really good ones as well, so you can kind of adjust it according to your ratios. But for my build, I am running it like this for now. So yeah, 2 of those. Sorry about a tangent. Going back to the Tamers, 2 Taijis. This is just here to get you draws and EP +2 whenever a target is changed. So he's still pretty good for that, and it's memory setter. This deck doesn't really like getting memory choked, so we're running 2 of those. And then we're running 2 copies of the Yuko. Yuko is a card I'm experimenting with. Start of your main phase, if your opponent has a Digimon, you can gain 1 memory. And then on all turns, whenever a attack target changes, you can suspend this Tamer to have one of your Digimon unaffected by your opponent's Digimon effects. And then it also gets +3k, so it gives you a DP buff. And if your opponent already has a big Digimon, your Blackwargreymons are unaffected. But this one is mainly used to protect your Gaioumon and your other dudes before you can get into your Blackwargreymon. So she's pretty good for that. She actually has an inherent ability as well, but we're not gonna use that in this deck. And the security ability is added to the top. So, all right. Next for the options, we're running 2 Lapis' Demon. This one forces your opponent to attack. Yeah, it's just good for this deck just because we are wanting your opponent to attack on their turn. So being able to force those is pretty good. And then we're also running a copy of Trident Arm. So Trident Arm, they Digivolve 3. And then one of your opponent's Digimon gets main phase attack with his Digimon until the end of opponent's turn. So yeah, it's pretty good just to deal with big stacks, because there are times when your opponent's going to be attacking with Digimon that has on attack abilities, and if you want to get rid of that, you can kind of use this to de-digivolve them first and then go past to their turn. So we're running 1 copy of that, and then we're just running consistency boosters. We're running 4 copies of the defensive training, and then 2 copies of the Black Memory Boost. Black Memory Boost is kind of a slot that you can play around with. You can run X Antibody if you want. I know some people run it with the X Antibody engine. I think it makes the deck a little bit more clunky, and that's why I took it out. From what I feel from using the deck, I feel like this version is a bit more streamlined. The X Antibody build was actually the build I went with first, but I just ended up taking it out. Obviously, you can also run the Gaioumon X Antibody if you want, because it's an expensive good card. But in this more budget build, I think this is perfectly fine. And yeah, overall, very fun deck to play. I think this deck has a lot of potential. This deck, the main problem is, again, if your opponent knows what they're doing, they can always deny you bodies on the board for you to target. And then this deck's just kind of sitting there. But you do have this. You can block with stuff because your stuff is pretty big. And if they do manage to get a big guy out, your Blackwarygreymon will be able to defend against it. And if they don't have something that's 13k or more, usually you will have a DP buff to make it 13k. So if they have a 13k or above, you're pretty fine. And then if they don't have a 13k or above, you're also pretty fine. So I think the deck, it has a lot of potential, but the thing about these decks that require your opponent to have stuff on the board is always going to be a little bit of a pain. But at least we have a little bit of a little something to mitigate that. And these guys kind of make things a little bit easier. Just be able to be more aggressive in your turn, having reboot, attacking, and suspending your opponent's turn. So you might not be able to do trash on their turn, but you can still just poke at them on their turn. So it's pretty nice. And the fact that Blackwarygreymon is an ace, you can just slap it down for 7 cost if you're really stuck, is also really good. So I think the deck is pretty fun. And as a Blackwarygreymon fan, I think this is a good start. Of course, there's going to be more Royal Knight support in the next set, so a lot of times your stuff is going to get sucked in. So it's not going to be a good time for that. But if they have Omegamons on the board, you can still target those. Even though they will get some upsides because their Omegamon does stuff when they die. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this deck profile, guys. If you guys want to build this deck, feel free to go to BanToTCG and enter the coupon code CardOtakuDesk0725 for 3% off on all orders above 13 USD. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this deck, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Stay tuned for more Digimon content, and I will see you guys next time.